Sundance Film Festival 2024. It's in the books. It's over. You've got some films to review here from Sundance. Just some last minute reviews coming in hot. What are you going to tell us about?
Yes. Well, let's just talk about the overall theme of Sundance. This year's theme is drama is depressing, and the best dramas are about depressing stories. I swear, I am so sad when it comes to all the movies I've seen at Sundance, compared to Slamdance, which was, I would say, much more fun. But let me go through 4 Sundance movies. One of them is going to spark a little bit of conversation here. The first one. Oh, we'll get to it. The first one is Handling the Undead. This is from Norway, and it's your zombie movie, but unlike a typical zombie movie, this one's much more thoughtful. It's basically three people have experienced death. And an elderly woman, her best friend / lover, passed away. In another one, a single mother, her son passed away. And then a family, a father, mother, and 2 daughters. The mother passes away. And one night during a severe electrical storm, all 3 of those people who died come back to life. And instead of, it doesn't go through the whole, hey, you get bit by a zombie, you become a zombie. But it's basically, what do these 3 families, these 3 groups, these 3 people, how do they handle the return of their loved one? Not only is it the return of their loved one and the restoration of loss and the avoidance of grief, but also the loved ones are not quite there in their heads. And so when that person you love comes back and they're not exactly, the person they were when they left, how do you deal with that? And that's kind of what this movie is. It explores that. It's from Norway. Very thoughtful. I thought it was okay. It's, again, not your typical zombie movie. You're not going to get the typical zombie tropes. And it's just more or less a look at family dynamics more than it is about a zombie movie. So you have a question or comment about that?
No, we got to go through these.
Yeah, we'll blast it. Okay, Blackbox Diaries is, let me just grab the note here. Blackbox Diary takes place in Japan. It's a documentary featuring journalist Shiori Ito. And essentially, her story is that she was a rising journalist at the Tokyo Broadcasting System, and she was sexually assaulted by her superior. He was a friend of the Prime Minister Abe at the time, very close to him. So he's a very powerful man. He was the White House correspondent for Tokyo News. And he basically drugged her and had his way with her. And so the thing is that because he's so powerful, that the police wouldn't investigate the story. And then she decided that what she has to do is to stand up for all women who were assaulted in Japan and come out. Because if you were to come out publicly as a victim of sexual assault, you're basically publicly shamed. And that's what she did. She went after this very powerful man. And we soon learn how difficult it is to prosecute sexual assault in Japan. To the point where in the middle of the film, there's legislation considered to make it easier to prosecute. But also there's a great deal of shame. There's a great deal of blacklisting that she went through. A great deal of abuse, but at the same time, a lot of women coming out saying that they appreciate her taking a stand, and that's what this documentary is about. Here, I'll skip the next one. I'll go right to the big one. Seeking Mavis Bacon.
No. It's Beacon. Is it Beacon or Bacon?
Right. It's Beacon. Sorry, I misspoke.
So wait a sec. Does this get a question? Does this have to do with that typing program that help people learn how to type?
The Mavis Beacon typing program? Yes.
It does?
Yes. Let me get the right name here. Okay. Mavis Beacon teaches typing. It's about that game. So this one is very interesting because it goes in a direction I didn't think it would go. And the movie annoyed me immensely. So here's here's the story behind the documentary of Seeking Mavis Beacon. Two Gen Z documentarians decide to seek out Mavis Beacon because of how important she was. Because the program, not only did it help the entire nation learn to type, but it encouraged the Black community to learn to type. And if you know anything about the legend of Mavis Beacon, you realize that she's not a real person. And so these two documentarians seek the information, seek the truth out. And this movie is much more about these two documentarians than it is about Mavis Beacon. But so the story is basically a bunch of Silicon Valley programmers, white guys, created a typing program. And they thought, they didn't think hard about it, but it's like, let's just put a Black woman on the cover of the box. And so they hired a Black actress, a Black model, and she became famous because of her image. She got, because it at that time software was fairly new, and no one knew the potential of this. She was paid a typical rate that a model would get for a product cover, and of course the whole thing takes off. And half of the movie, or the first part of the movie, is just about how important this program was, because it taught Black men and women, boys and girls, to type. And by learning to type at a proficient level, that gave them access to quote unquote white jobs. And, numerous stories of people who got ahead in life, who got that extra step in life by learning to type. And that's what they did. But of course, they're Gen Z documentarians. So of course, there must be racism behind this. And so they searched things out. They talked to three of the white programmers who did it. Then they kind of debunked the fact that there's no Mavis Beacon, and then they go searching for the model, who they replaced midway through because the model sued the company over basically a variation of her image that she didn't like. When they sued them, she won. And then they decide, well, let's take her off the box. And then they went with, but of course that's racist. And so, this movie just becomes this really annoying tale of these two kids finding, basically it's critical race theory. They're the two living embodiment of critical race theory. And what happens when you teach children critical race theory, because they have to find racism in everything. And
so it's literally the typing program that I remember this. I think I had learned typing before this I learned how to type because I wanted to be a writer when I was a kid. Learned how to type on a typewriter, not a computer, a typewriter.
Was it a Selectric?
It was, well, the thing that pissed me off was it was an elective class. I took typing, and then what happened was it brought my GPA down because I got less C- because they graded you based on the speed, and I cared more about accuracy than speed. I think you had to type 120 words per minute. I think the best I could do was like 80 or something. So I ended up like it dragged my GPA down. I remember like, why am I being downgraded for I want to expand? I'll get faster, but the fact that I couldn't reach that speed just physically was annoying to me.
Well, my mom was a computer programmer, and we got the Apple II. We're the only ones who had an Apple II, not the Apple II Plus, the Apple II. And so it was natural that I would be taking typing classes, and I used programs like Mavis Beacon and others to learn to type. And yeah, I got to 120. In fact, I got to 140. So that's
good for you. Good for you, Alan.
Right.
I was just whatever. Look, I've become a fast at typing since, but when I was a kid, I'm I cared about that it was accurate. I needed to change my priorities.
Well, at 140, I was accurate too.
Whatever. Anyways, so look, you've told us about these docs. This is the only one that interests me. Are these films that you've talked about? Yeah. Is this? What do you even rank this? Is it just
honestly, what I found most fascinating about this documentary were the two young women who are the documentarians, because it's just wow, this is where our youth are at. This is what happens when you when you just let kids go off and you hand them over to your schools, and then they teach them all this CRT nonsense. This is what they become. And there's points where they're of course they're in San Francisco, in the Bay Area. And there was a point where someone had given them an office to make the documentary in, gave it to them for free. And then when they went off to Florida to find the model, the guys who were sharing the office basically removed everything from it. They didn't steal it; they were able to get all this stuff back. But there's this conversation between the white guy who owns the studio, and this insane conversation of, oh, I hear you, and it's like I was offended by that, and and it's like, wow, the way they speak to each other is like it's woke insanity.
Well, all I can say is this: I only look. I saw the one movie at Sundance I wanted to see, Dig Double X.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else just looks like a lot of filmmakers that may not be ready for prime time. And personally, hearing all the reviews that you've done and talking to our other writers, we talk amongst ourselves. I think I'd rather go to a funeral recreationally rather than go to Sundance these days. But the thing is this, I don't blame Sundance. Okay. I don't blame Sundance. They choose the movies choose from the movies that are submitted to them. Right. I blame this new generation of filmmakers. We're going to get to that later in the show. Yeah. But I blame this new generation of filmmakers that are just not ready to make big movies yet. They're just not ready. And we enable them. It's like we tell them, tell your story, give us, use your voice, but we don't give them any help. Right. It's like Alan.
Yeah. We'll get into it, but this idea, okay. Yeah. Knowing the topics we're going to talk about, this idea of mentorship just doesn't exist.
All right. Well, look, we've got over 1,000 people watching right now. So smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. And that's a wrap. And look for Alan's story on the Film Threat website, the Sundance Film Festival 2024 wrap story, where he links to every single review from Sundance. There'll be a follow-up story also on Slamdance.
It'll be this weekend.
For my money, Slamdance had better movies. All right, let's pivot.